Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, this is Jan from New York City, and my channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. Hey, how's everybody doing on this bright and beautiful Thursday morning? Hope that this audio video finds everybody doing well. And you're looking at a very, very simple picture today. We're going to talk a little bit about the fat cat and the skinny chicken. What? Now, for anybody that's new to this channel, you may not know what that means. And for the veterans, I know that you know what it means. But let's do something about it, because even the veteran listeners can have a hard time with this. Here's what I mean by fat cat and skinny chicken. There are some people that live this kind of lifestyle every single month. You know what I mean? Let's say, for example, they're living on a fixed income. And let's say, for example, that they're getting their pay or whatever you call it at the beginning of the month, their check. And this is the time in the month where they live the, fat cat life. Hey, do anything you want, not plan ahead, don't see past your nose. The money's flowing and the eagle's flying, and guess what? 10 days later, 10 to 15 days later, all of a sudden they're losing a lot of traction, and they're suddenly decreasing in their size. This fat cat is not only transformed from being a fat cat, it turned into a skinny chicken. What? Back in the old days, people referred to skinny chicken as a hard time, like lean times. Like, for example, being able to go to the grocery store and buying the smallest chicken in the meat section or at the butcher, because that's all he could afford. That's what this means. Lean time, skinny chicken. How do we get from being a fat cat to the skinny chicken? That's living the flip-flop life. That's living the yo-yo life. And some people do not realize it, but they do this every single month of their life. Then they want to know, by the time the 15th of the month rolls around, they're scratching their head and trying to figure out what to make for dinner for the next 2 weeks. That is not a good way to exist, in my honest opinion. But the great news, and there is great news about this, we do not have to continue to lead the fat cat, skinny chicken life, even on the same income that you're bringing in at the same time of the month. What? The difference is in the planning. You see, this is why everybody needs to face the music. Let's say if this person's budgetary month income begins at the beginning of the month, then it stands to reason, and for most people, it stands to reason to sit down with your budget at the beginning of the month. What is the monthly forecast this month? Some people do not realize that despite the fact that their income remains the same, e.g. fixed income, if you will, but their outgo does not remain the same. Every single month is different. And I like to use this as an analogy. For example, let's compare the month of December, you know what I mean, like with the major holidays, versus the month of, let's say, March, which may not have that many major holidays. Every single month is part of the year, but every single month has different situations going on. So you have to sit down and plan for it and face the music. Now, in order to avoid becoming a skinny chicken in the middle of the month, unless you like that lifestyle, maybe some people do, and that's why they don't change it. Because to tell you the truth, I oftentimes wonder, to me, it would bother me. It would bother me not to have that even keel. Personally, me, Jan, I prefer to have an even keel kind of life. If I want to go on a roller coaster, I'll swing over to Coney Island. That's what I'll do. I don't want to live a roller coaster life with financial. I like to live a little bit of a kind of not complacent, what's the word I'm looking for? Comfortable existence. I don't want to be necessarily a gazillionaire, but I sure don't want to have to worry every time the middle of the month comes. Hey, how's it going to be? Stretching the old budget of Rooney. And that is very stressful. See, some people do not realize that they are imposing a great deal of stress on their life by living that lifestyle, maybe even subliminally. They do not realize. So what can we do to make the same exact income last, not to have being a fat cat? You might be a cool cat, and it's okay to be a cool cat any time of the year. But to be a fat cat and then a skinny chicken in the middle of the month is just not good. What can we do about it? Well, taking the same amount of money, you plan ahead. Now, There are only two things in life we can do with our budgets. We could either increase our income, which is always a good thing, okay? Or we could decrease our expenditures, okay? So let's start with the easiest thing first. Since a lot of people, maybe for whatever the reason, can't seem to figure out a way to increase their income, although in upcoming shows we will talk about that. But for now, let's just work on one area, okay? Decreasing our expenditures. Now, look and examine your life. Only you can do that. Let's see. Are you doing something silly that you just don't realize? Are you spending $75 a month on that bagel and cream cheese? And I know by now the whole world knows that story, so I'm not even going to go there. Are you, okay, let's bring it over to the coffee story, which by now everybody knows. But it's the little things. You see, people do not realize it's those little insidious expenses that creep up. You just don't realize, and you scratch your head and go, but it's only a cup of coffee. Yeah, but how many times you having that outside cup of coffee? I didn't even have my cup of Joe yet. This is the truth. I didn't even make the pot yet, but I intend to make my first morning pot in a few minutes. I says, I want to get this video out there as soon as possible, because to me, that was my priority. But let's get back to the coffee expenditure. I love it when people go, but it's only this. It's only a bag of chips. Well, here's the really next question. How many times in a month are you getting only that coffee? How many times in a month are you getting only that bag of chips? Ha, 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 ha. That's a different ball game. And if you take out your trusty calculator, or if you use the brains God gave you and add it up, you will be amazed and surprised at the actual figure. That's one thing. Okay, then we go on to other things, other discretionary expenses. For example, do you have a ton of birthdays coming up in the same month? I live that life. There are a few months in a year, for whatever the reason, everybody that I know seems to have a birthday. And they are all important people in my life. And I love them to pieces. Well. Is there something you could do about it? Do you normally send a monetary gift, but this time you're finding it really, really hard? Find a different gift. That doesn't mean close off your heart and not give a gift. Find a different gift. Find a less expensive gift. Don't send a monetary gift. Create your own coupons and certificates. I did that one year. I had a very, very skinny chicken month. But the people that I gave these gifts to, they received great gifts, and they were very happy for it. I made gifts from the heart, and I also made my own certificates, of which I promised them either childcare or a meal, a frozen meal, whatever. Can I tell you, that thing went off like a hit. People love that. They didn't mind having my homemade lasagna in the freezer for those nights when they didn't feel like cooking. You have to get creative. There are ways you can get creative and still get the job done. Another thing, no spend days. I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. I'd rather have a few no spend days each month than a whole bunch of can't spend days every single month. Got it? Meaning that I sit down and I pre-plan my no spend days. When I know that I'm more vulnerable to expenses that may make me become a skinny chicken. Don't get me wrong, everybody. I don't mind being skinny. That's a nice thing. But I don't want to be a skinny chicken. What other things can we do to plug up the holes for the month? Well, in the beginning of the month, when the money is flowing a little better, plan meals that you write. Literally, this is why I am for meal planning, okay? If you know that the middle of the month, those last 2 weeks of the month, are tough times for your dinners, at the beginning of the month, when the money and the juices are flowing, make that extra meal, plan it, date it, have it available in your freezer so you don't have to do takeout. Doing takeout is really costly. And if you live in a skinny chicken time in a month, can you really afford to get takeout during the skinny chicken time in a month? No. But guess what? Bellies still need to be filled. Am I right or am I right? There are things you could do. I've done it. Oh, here's another trick with sticks of butter. Okay, I get out this tray that I use for the second half of the month, okay? And anytime there's like, let's say a little bit, let's say a third left of a stick of butter, I pop it in that tray that goes right in the freezer for the second half of the month, okay? Let's say that I have opened a package of hot dogs in the beginning of the month. I will wrap up a few of those hot dogs for the second half of the month. And I actually literally put it in a container that is designated for the second half of the month. You see, you can do this. Get creative. If I make a pot of beautiful soup, and you know I can do that, you've seen it before, That's what you do. That's the perfect time to clean out your refrigerator and make what I like to call refrigerator leftover soup. You will be amazed. These are perfect ways to let the second part of the month, the skinny chicken part of the month, not be so skinny after all. Okay? So cut down and reduce your expenses and live a more even keel kind of lifestyle. That is not the time of the month to go around buying extra cups of coffee outside when you could brew it inside. Isn't that ridiculous? Just think about that for a minute. And do not get pressured by friends or family that don't understand why you have to turn them down to go to the movies. Well, whenever you can go to the movies, if you know what I'm saying. Do other things. Be a creator, not a taker. Less of a consumer and more of a doer. And you will find that you will be living more of the even keel life. I know these tips are helpful, and I know there's somebody out there that may get some use out of it. And for those that might have heard some of this before, good for you. Now you're an expert. And for those who've never heard this story before, great. Now you know something extra. And in the meantime, this has been Jan from New York City. Thank you so much for listening. Why? Because I really do appreciate whose time, your time. Of course, I'm going to end this with a little bit of music, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have an amazing day, everybody. Take good care.